Coach. Obviously, coming off a road trip from over a week ago against a very, very good football team, Central Michigan University. Again, they played hard against Missouri. They played hard against LSU. They played extremely hard against Robert Morris, and you were undermanned in that game. Let's talk first of all about how strong a football team Central Michigan is and how tough it was, secondly, for Robert Morris to go in there without, double-digit players, including Elijah Jackson.
Without a ton of players. To be honest with you, Central Michigan is just a very good football team, like you said, Chris. Up front, their defensive front four is outstanding. Their O-line was good. Their running backs were extremely good, and obviously the wide receiver core was good. The thing that hampered us a little bit, and it's kind of funny, we sit back and we fought our butts off. We went out there with not one wide receiver that ever played a college game, not one running back who had ever played a college game, and not one tight end who had ever played a college game. And we had a walk-on freshman safety starting. So it was like one of those situations. But the guys fought. They went out there and they played as hard as they could. I was very proud of our defense on that fourth down play, going into the end zone when they were able to stop them on 4th and 3, I think it was. And we were able to stop them and hold them. We had some guys up front. We had a guy up front who just transferred in from Wagner, Jabril. Jabril was our nose guard. Jabril did a great job of coming off. Another outstanding guy who had played some college games but had never played in a situation like that where he was coming off the bench. So it was a great, outstanding job by our guys. I mean, there are no moral victories, but the guys that went out on that field, they fought. They did a good job. And to be honest with you, there were some things that really encouraged me by watching those guys fight, because we knew once we got the rest of our guys back and we meshed that thing together, we'd be in a much better situation.
Coach, one of the things that had to be encouraging was the play of Jamar Shagog. He was all over the place on defense.
Jamar's been all over the place on defense since we got here. And again, he's one of those guys that, we're not full 63 scholarships yet, but he's that guy we happened to sneak in at $10,000. Yeah. We got him in here and he got on the field and he showed us what he's been able to do since he was a freshman, and him having 4 more years. We're excited about that. When you have 18 tackles, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good Saturday when you have 18 tackles. And he's one of those guys. Him and Buzz are starting to play and mesh well together. So those 2 big leaders we have on that defense right now.
Coming back, off of the loss of so many players due to the COVID protocol, what's practice been like leading up to the Howard game this coming weekend? Are you back to the full complement of guys? Let me ask you.
We are back to the full complement of guys. Still a couple of guys here and there, but I mean, as far as our starters and the guys that we're really relying on this year, we're back to that full complement. The biggest piece back is obviously George Martin and also Dre Hicks. Those are the 2 biggest pieces, and we're finally going to get a chance to see our tight end that we brought in from North Carolina, from Charlotte. We bringing him in. Moss is going to do an outstanding job for it. And Dylan, kind of been our cornerstone there at tight end. So we're back to full speed where we need to be at. And as far as practice goes, practice has been very well. The tempo's been up. They've been excited about the game. They've been excited about this. And I keep reminding them, and I don't like talking about the past, but I keep reminding our team that we haven't won a game since 2019. So it's time for us to kick this thing into gear and see what we're capable of doing. We still haven't been full power, and I think this will be the first time we're going to a game we've been full power, because even in the spring, the spring game season that we had, we didn't start one offensive line that played consistently together for the 3 games that we played. Every game we had a different offensive line. So we haven't had full strength yet. So we're hoping to get full strength this Saturday, and hopefully we'll see where things lead to.
All right. I'll have some questions about Howard, but I'll open it up if anybody else has any questions about last week or about practices.
Well, I actually have questions about you guys are honoring Coach Walton on Saturday. And Shevlin, I might have some questions for you actually too afterwards. But Coach Clark, I mean, obviously college football is built through traditions, compared to professional football. It's built towards honoring the past as much as going towards the future. Now, obviously, besides your tenure as RMU head coach, you don't have a connection with Robert Morris besides that. But what is it like, honoring the guy that laid the groundwork for your program now, as well as reminding players that, hey, this guy was successful for 12 years. There's this tradition with Robert Morris. We can bring it back.
Well, he's the catalyst. There's no doubt about it. And I'm humbled to even be representing him on the field on Saturday. What Coach Walton did here is outstanding. I mean, the stadium he built, the team he built, the tradition he built, and guys like, Ray Thomas that believe in him, who gave him an opportunity. Ray Thomas gave him an opportunity to build the things that we're building around here. We're talking about a guy that won 6 conference championships. We're talking about a guy that built a football team from scratch, that started with no scholarships and worked it up to where we are right now with 43 scholarships. He did all this. He laid all the groundwork for that. So it's an honor to represent Joe Walton.
Yeah, no, Shevlin, real quick, just your thoughts on, Saturday upcoming, because I know you were, play-by-play guy during all those years, so.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking me, Logan. The thing is, I can tell you first and foremost, Coach Walton had the utmost respect for Coach Clark. I know that he really loved the fact that Coach Clark continued building on to the tradition that has been set here at Robert Morris. I know Smoke can talk to that as well, but yeah, I mean, I remember, and I've said this to our alumni, Coach Clark was on the Zoom call that we had with those guys back in the fall, and I think Smoke was there too. I remember that first football game, and I remember, some of the plays and some of the spots on the field down at Waynesburg where things happened, and it was amazing how quickly the program got jump-started because of Coach Walton. And the thing is, I mean, I had met Coach Walton back in 1983, and I know Coach Clark is going to laugh because every time I say this, I've been a lifelong fan of the New York Jets just because of where I grew up. I grew up in Beaver County, so I've been a Joe Namath fan since 1965. And, when Joe Walton took over as the head coach of the Jets, again, it was another Beaver County connection. And I mentioned at the memorial service that they held in Beaver Falls about a month ago that, there's so many Beaver County connections with the Jets, whether it's Joe Namath or Joe Walton or Ty Law or Darrelle Revis. I can go on and on. There are kids who play from Beaver Falls, Glenn Dennis and Babe Pirelli from Rochester. I mean, there's always been a connection with the Jets. So, Joe Walton just solidified that. But the thing is, I remember meeting him back in the early 80s when he was the head coach there and watched his career continue in the NFL with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then when he came to Robert Morris, I knew day one when they said Joe Walton was going to be the head coach, I knew something special was about to happen. But like I said in the beginning, he was so appreciative of Coach Clark and the love shown from Coach Clark and his staff, and he really respected Coach Clark and what the Colonials are doing these days.
I thank you for that, Chris. I appreciate that. The thing that I admire about Coach Walton, and when we were on that call, and Smoke can attest to this, the one thing that I learned, because I played at the University of Miami while I was there, I was lucky enough to win 2 national championships. The one thing I learned is the attitude's always the same on championship teams. The players run the team. The players understand the importance. The players hold each other accountable, and that's what Coach Walton did here. He had these players understand that this is your team. You have to hold each other accountable. You're the ones that are going to win football games. All we're doing is putting you into place. And when I got here and I heard those guys talking about some of the stuff Coach Walton did with them, it was exactly what Coach Johnson did with us when I was there, helping us understand that this is a player's game. That's what this is. This is a player's game. You have to run it. You have to be accountable to each other. And I thank Coach Walton for helping me understand that even more, getting around a team that won 6 conference championships.
And I think Raymond could attest to the fact that, just like you, Coach Clark, I mean, he treated these guys like adults. And, basically it was a professional team, only it was a college football team when Smoke was here.
Agreed. That's what I was about to say. And just to say that, most of the kids on this team might not have even been around, haven't even been born but 20 years ago, because you probably already have maybe like 18, 19 guys who are maybe seniors that are 21. So a lot of these young men were not even on this earth when the program actually started. So that's something historic in itself. But my question was to you, coaches, just talking about buy-in. What is the buy-in level right now, knowing the adversities of COVID? Is the team buying in that this season is really real? Is it, a collective understanding that what we're going out here to do, it's not something that we can make up in another week or so? So after coming from a loss and now going into your first home game, fans, what's the buy-in right now that you're feeling from your team?
Well, to be honest with you, I think they kind of answered that this summer, Smoke. And just to answer your question about these guys not knowing how old we are, I was talking to one of them yesterday. I was talking about Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. He looked at me like I had 3 heads. She's like, "What is that, Coach? I've never seen that movie before." So, but I think the buy-in started when we had such a rough season in the spring. We went 0-3. My thoughts were, man, we got to figure out how we're going to get these guys back up here to work out. We got to figure out how we're going to do it. And we had 50 to 70 guys this summer show up for 6 a.m. workouts and bust their behinds and give 100%. It was always a number between 50 and 70. And we knew that they had committed themselves to doing it. And the guys that weren't here, when we got back and we did the 16 110s that we do for our conditioning test, we had maybe 10 guys missing out of 110 guys. So that was I knew they were committed at that time. All they're trying to do right now, what we're trying to get out of them right now, Smoke, we're trying to get them to hold each other accountable. We want them to understand it's important, not for the coach to say, hey, we need you to make this signal on the field. It's important for the safety to say, hey, corner, I need you to echo this call to me so I know that you got it. Hey, receiver, I need you to line up correctly next to the tight end, and the tight end needs to tell you, receiver, hey, come on in, man. This is where you need to line up at. We need the quarterback to direct what's going on. Those are the things we're trying to make them happen right now. They've bought into what's going on. We're just trying to make them hold each other more accountable right now, Smoke.
Coach, you talk about buying in and, especially with this game, also honoring Joe Walton and what he's meant to the program. It's going to be an emotionally charged game with the service that's following the game, and especially with fans back in the stands for the first time since 2019. How have you prepared your team for this specific game?
Well, I think it's just an exciting atmosphere. The thing that we prepare them for is just know that, hey, we're going to take it play by play, and we're going to try to win the football game. We're not going to try to put a big picture out there. Hey, let's go play by play, be smart about what's going on, take a down after down, and understand it's one play after another. Don't let the atmosphere get bigger than what it is. Understand the fans are back. I know you're excited, but don't let that overwhelm what we come to do. It's always a business trip. Even when you're going on an away game, we got to remind our guys, this is a business trip. This is all about winning a football game and getting on to the next one and making sure you know what's going on. But we got to take it play by play.
I asked you too back when we started the season about this game, about it being the first, and you were surprised to learn that it was the first home game that you guys would have with fans in 2 years. So I guess since then, really since this past week, how have like the excitement or the dawn on you at all, the fact that, hey, we're finally gonna have fans back? I guess to follow just up on Nathan's question, how have you personally been feeling about, finally being able to have fans back in the stands and being able to coach and have your team play in front of the fans?
Well, Logan, to be totally honest with you, I kind of like that. I kind of like going to Central Michigan, and I kind of like the harassment of the fans for the sideline. I kind of appreciate that, because that gets you more prepared and gets you more pumped about what's going on. I mean, those students were constantly in our guys' ears, and of course, our names on the back of our jerseys, so they're yelling out names and they're calling them all kinds of stuff, and they got all these pictures of them, and but that's the kind of atmosphere I love. This atmosphere is more friendly. It gets you pumped up, and we get things going and seeing what things happen. So this is more of an excitement. Last week's atmosphere is kind of what gets me going, because I like being the underdog. I like being that guy that nobody expects to win, and you go out there and you play a hard-fought game and you pull it out. We didn't pull it out, but our guys fought hard and did what we expected them to do. This week is just going to be exciting. It's exciting about having the first home game. It's just having a rookie like Smoke, up in the box, seeing if he gonna mess up, see if he knows what's going on. So I'm sure he's excited. So I'm excited about all the new nuances that's going to go on.
You're putting a lot of heat on Smoke
Oh,
Thomas.
he's gonna put a lot of weight on him. He's used to it. He's used to pressure.
He is. He is pressure packed. He knows how to bring the pressure.
You know, and I know pressure does one thing. He either busts a pipe or makes a diamond. One or the other. So we're gonna see, was he gonna be a diamond? Is he gonna barbecue or mildew? We got to figure it out.
And listen, I signed on the dotted line, so they got me at least for 4 games.
That's right. I actually had a chance to watch Howard play last week a little bit. They were on NBC Sports Channel. I'm not sure if there's an archive of it anywhere. Smoke, I told you I try to find one. I haven't been able to be successful at it. But the thing is, they played Hampton And Hampton really, I only watched the first half of the game, and Hampton was dominating them, but they kept the score close. I mean, every time, Hampton looked like it was going to pull away, Howard just battled back. And it was a non-conference game, but the thing is, it was a really good ball game. And I know that, Howard comes in and their offense uses a lot of RPO. And that's something you're going to have to watch for this week, obviously. And, they have some talented athletes. So, Coach Clark, I'm just wondering, talking in circles and finally getting to the question, what do you need to concentrate on regarding Howard's offense, first of all, and how tough are they going to be defensively against your offense?
Well, the reason you saw the battle you saw last week is because when it comes to Hampton and it comes to Howard, they have an old tradition. It's called the Battle of the Real HU.
Yep.
Who owns that? And when I coached at Hampton University a few years back, that was like huge for them. So they're going to always battle. But I've watched the first 3 games in which Howard has played in. They've played against Maryland. They played against Richmond. In each week, you see those guys getting better. But what you see is, like you said, there's a lot of talent on that football field. You just worry about when it's going to finally come together. When is it going to find the mesh? You start worrying about things like that. So our guys got to be prepared for that. Offensively, we got to stop the run. We got a running back who's pretty doggone good, who runs behind his pass, gets downhill, does a real good job. He goes behind a big offensive line. The quarterbacks, he's pretty accurate. He got a strong arm. He throws some accurate passes here and there. He throws some wild passes here and there, but for the most part, he does throw accurate passes. And he's got 2 great tight ends that he can get the ball to. The wide receivers are pretty good, but the tight ends are the guys that worry me more than anything else, because when your tight end streak down the middle, you worry about is your safety going to cover it? Is your linebacker going to cover it? Those things become an issue. But we got to stop the run first. The thing we always want to say is we want to try to keep a team under 150 yards rushing. That's important to try to do that. So we want to try to stop the run first. Defensively, they got a defensive line that's pretty doggone good. And they got a safety, a number 9, who they saying may have opportunity to play at the next level. I'm not sure. The guy does come up and hit you. He does a good job of hitting you. But the defensive lineman, number 92, he's a nose tackle. He does a great job with line movements, using his hands, getting off of blocks and doing those things. They got a pretty good linebacker core that gets downhill and tackles guys pretty good. As far as, like you said, there's a lot of RPOs when it comes to the offense, but they do a good job with the run game, and that's what opens those RPOs for. Now, they're going to try to hit you deep every now and then. Defensively, I know the defensive coordinator. So for the most part, he's going to run some cover 3. He's going to run some cover 1 stuff. That's what he's trying to do. But he's also going to put a lot of pressure on you. He's going to try to get pressure, make sure the quarterback makes decisions quick, and he wants to try to play close man when he does things like that. His name is Troy Douglas. Troy and I coached together at University of South Florida. So overall, and obviously Coach Scott and I coached at University of South Florida. Overall, I think they're on the right track of where Coach Scott wants to be. They keep pushing those guys week after week. And as you watch film, you watch them against Richmond, then you watch them against Maryland, and then you watch them against Hampton. The score is not indicative of how hard that team is playing or how hard they're fighting.
Hey, Coach, quick, fast, and this may be on another level, on the opposite side of the ball, but looking at this being the first HBCU to come to the university, what is your take on historical Black colleges, and now Robert Morris being one of the historical white colleges that's going to have an opportunity to play against a powerhouse like Howard, Hampton? What is your background? I know you've rubbed your elbows with many coaching staffs. But have the guys talked about it? Do they know the impact or the actual gravity of a HBCU traveling to Robert Morris all the way to Moon Township?
Well, I think I'll be honest with you, Smoke. This is the 3rd one. This is the first FCS one. This is the first FCS, because we had Virginia State, we had Central State, and we had Kentucky State. And this is the 3rd one. This is the 4th one that's coming in. But this is the first FCS program that's traveling here. And so I don't think the guys look at it that way. I think the great thing about sports, and you know this, Smoke, and all you got, the great thing about sports is no one cares. All guys care about is, are you going to do your job? I tell our guys on a regular basis, this is the most diverse group of people you're ever going to be around, your team. This is it. Take advantage of hanging out with your Black teammates, hanging out with your white teammates, hanging out with your Polynesian teammates. Take advantage of that, because in life, you're not going to be around this diverse group of people. So I think what our guys are looking at, they're looking at a good football team who's coming in here trying to beat us. I don't think they're thinking about HBCU or anything like that. I think they're looking at a good football team. They're watching film, and they're wondering, how can we dominate these guys, and how can we win the game? When it comes to sports, I don't think people look at it that way, Smoke, because and I know in that locker room, Man, I don't care if you're Episcopalian. I want to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. You can be black, white, or candy stripe. If you're not doing your job, I'm going to have a problem with it. So I think that's the important thing when it comes to stuff.
Definitely a different type of atmosphere.
Yes.
Nothing like it.
Nothing at all. And that's what I tell our guys all the time, being around teammates. I mean, think about the teammates you have that you would never have had in years before. I mean, I can go to North Carolina and hang out with buddies of mine I play with at Miami, white friends, black friends, all over the place, because football, there's so much diversity in it. I wish the world could be in a locker room on a regular basis and they understand, or guys can be in the military together, because people say the locker room, I got a lot of buddies that spent time in the military. They said the locker room is a lot like the military, because once you get to know a guy and once you know when you know the honesty and the truth of a guy and what he's all about, it's kind of hard to hate him. It's kind of hard to hate him.
Any other questions for Coach?
I have a question for Ray, but I'm good with Coach.
Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead, Logan. I want to hear the question, because we putting Ray on the spot, man.
I got one more, Coach. I know you was just told. Just give me two keys to the game, Coach. Any keys? I know you talked about.
I think, to be honest with you, Smoke, it's going to be, we got to stop the run on defense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we got to get our running game going. That's probably the thing that hurt us when we were at Central Michigan. I think we could have got our running game going a little bit more, would have opened up some more things. So we got AJ back. We got John Wynn back, who's a freshman. We hadn't played a whole lot, but we got those guys back. Jordan Johnson. We got those guys back for this game. So we got to get our run game going, but we got to stop their run game. I think George is going to have the poise he always has in the pocket. And I think, to be honest with you, he's probably even more of a cool cucumber this year than he's ever been in the past, because he's a fifth-year senior. And I think Gabe said it best last week. I think all quarterbacks should be fifth-year seniors, because once they reach that point where they've run this offense for the past 3 years, he's right where he needs to be at. So I'd say we got to stop the run. We got to establish the run.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Logan, let's hear your question for Smoke.
Well, I just wanted to circle back, because I got long quotes from Shevlin and Clark on Walton. So I just wanted to ask you, Ray, what it was like playing for him.
Man, we can go a long time, but he was the extended father for me. Coming from New York City, inner city school, he was the first white coach that I had ever had, and then obviously the diversity of our team incorporated something that I had not been a part of, especially coming to Robert Morris College. Then the atmosphere was different, the environment was welcoming. And it was a family-like type style that I was able to adapt. And ultimately, he took me underneath my wing. I was rough around the edges. I was, combative at sometimes. I was wanting to show, how good I was, and really wasn't working on the details that really support to reflect on the field. And he had to pull me to the side and say, what do you want to be? Do you want to be yourself, or do you want to be a part of a team? And that ultimately got me where I needed to be, because I had to figure out it's not about what I can do per se, it's what I can do to help the team. And he was really a forward thinking in that, because that actually ultimately allowed my game to develop in the way that it needed to be. Because I wasn't worried about my stats. I wasn't worried about, how can I expose myself to the crowd per se, but how can I win on the field and off the field? And with his leadership and direction at that age, it helped me out, because it came from a different perspective. It was new, but I was always welcome to it. And openly, I never had a college coach call my parents. He was one of those people. He wanted to really figure out, how can I reach to him and understand that I'm your extension family. And he really was good about that. He was professional. He was always well organized. And it always taught us, prepare for what is to come. And those who fail to prepare to fail. So ultimately, those opportunities, whether it was his speeches before games, whether his, understanding of the value of preparation, attention to detail, allowing those who do what you're supposed to do your job, and everything else will fall into place. he was very encouraging and supportive from all of our teammates, wherever you came from. And ultimately, it created an environment of thriving. And ultimately, that's what I fell in love with. And although I was from the big city of New York, I ended up staying in Pittsburgh, still live here now. And he was one of those reasons.